is Matthew Cratter from Trader University, and today I want to talk about how Bitcoin has the potential to deflate the luxury real estate market. Another way of saying this is that Bitcoin will steal market share from luxury real estate and will also shrink the store value premium that's embedded in a lot of high-end real estate. A lot of people don't realize that, especially in the US and in Canada, a lot of capital, a lot of wealth is stored in real estate, especially foreign wealth. We talk about Chinese money coming into the market and Russian money, etc. This has been a big problem in Vancouver for a very long period of time because these people buy these mansions and then they just leave them empty. It's a way of parking value. If you have a lot of money in China, for example, and you're worried about it being confiscated, you can try to take some of that outside of the country and park it in real estate in Vancouver or Manhattan or another big city. Obviously, a lot of Russian oligarchs buying property in Manhattan, as well as from a lot of other wealthy investors from a lot of other countries. A bunch of articles here that I'll link to. You get these articles going back and forth, whether it's Chinese money coming in or Russian money coming in, etc. And the real problem with this, especially in a place like Vancouver, has been that these houses are often left empty. The people don't even live there. And so it does cause these distortions in the local real estate market. And people who actually want to live there, the prices they have to pay are much higher because wealthy international investors are parking their money in that real estate. Now, the nice thing about US and Canada, obviously Europe as well, good property rights, good rule of law, and real estate is a nice place to store your wealth. It's a way of preserving your purchasing power for the future, passing your wealth on to your future self or to your heirs. Real estate is also nice because it's tangible and you could obviously visit it if you wanted to. The other thing that I think really drives a lot of this is there's very little KYC, AML, know your customer, anti-money laundering in real estate versus stocks, especially in the US. I'm less familiar with Canada, but I've heard many stories from different real estate agents, especially in the Bay Area, on the peninsula, back when I used to live there, about Chinese millionaires and billionaires coming in, buying houses with briefcases full of cash. And they used to bring these people in on a bus, and they would just go and buy house after house. And so that's one advantage. If these same people wanted to open up a brokerage account, for example, there would be much more scrutiny involved in terms of KYC, AML. So this combination of the store value aspect of real estate, which is at least how it's functioned historically, combined with the looser regulations in terms of money flows, definitely makes real estate attractive. If you're finding this video helpful, I just pause here to ask you to hit that subscribe and hit that like button and maybe share the video with a friend as well. So this has been a great strategy. Obviously, there are some risks to it if you happen to be from a country that the US gets mad at, whether rightfully so or not rightfully so, especially maybe a country like Russia and China, where there are a lot of tensions between the US and these governments. What happens at some point, I don't think it's really happened yet, at least as far as I'm aware, what happens if the US government or the Canadian government decides to seize your assets? They say that you have some link to terrorism, and so we're just going to grab your assets. This is a problem, especially if you're overseas. You can do nothing about it. If you try to show up, maybe you get arrested at the airport or something like that. The other big problem with real estate, obviously, is what if you need instant liquidity? What if your business empire, when the pandemic hits, and all of a sudden you need some cash to prop up your empire, and you need to liquidate some assets? Selling real estate, especially high-end real estate, during a liquidity crisis or during a pandemic is very difficult. It's hard in normal times as well. Marketing a $50 million property, there are obviously not that many buyers for it at that price point. Now, I would argue that Bitcoin fixes this simply because Bitcoin has that liquidity, has that instant liquidity. You can easily deploy billions of dollars, as Michael Saylor at MicroStrategy has shown us. It's easy to enter, it's easy to exit, and you can basically control your position. You hold your own private keys. You don't leave your Bitcoin on Coinbase or Gemini or something like that, especially if you're a Russian oligarch. You hold your private keys in a multi-sig setup. You don't have to worry about, and if you do that, you don't have to worry about any government freezing your assets, blocking your condo with police or soldiers, or arresting you at the airport if you decide to visit and you become a persona non grata. And if you're a Russian oligarch or a Chinese billionaire, almost certainly you can find a way to get some Bitcoin in a much more anonymous way, even more anonymous, obviously, than real estate. What this means looking forward, and this hasn't, I would suggest this hasn't really begun yet, but it may be starting at the margins. I actually sold a piece of real estate late last year and put all the money into Bitcoin. It was not a luxury piece of real estate. It was just a single family home rental. But what I realized was that it was a little bit too much of a headache, and I could get much higher returns on Bitcoin. But what this means, especially I'm talking about at the luxury level, high-end real estate that has historically been functioning solely as a store of value, as distinct from its use value. Maybe you're a billionaire and you want to have a pad in Tokyo and a pad in London and a pad in Manhattan. That makes a lot of sense. But what we do see is that a lot of these pads are somewhat permanently empty. And so on the margins, it would make sense for these oligarchs and these billionaires to sell off some of their high-end real estate and move the money into Bitcoin. It's much more politically safe, and it's much less easy to confiscate. In fact, it's almost impossible to confiscate. The other really nice thing about holding Bitcoin, there's no maintenance needed, no leaky roofs, no plumbing to be fixed, no HOA problems or property taxes or HOA fees. You don't have to buy insurance for it because you're holding your own private keys in multisig, etc. Now, this isn't to say that all luxury real estate is going to lose its utility value. I would personally love to have a nice penthouse in Manhattan just for use value if I wanted to visit there. But I think on the margins, especially if you've got a bunch of these like Roman Abramovich, as we saw, why keep so much money in empty luxury condos or houses that you never plan to visit when you can just park the money in Bitcoin instead? It's much more liquid. It's much more easy to verify that it's there, and it can't be confiscated by any hostile government. I would suggest, though, obviously, utility value. When we look at the utility value of real estate, we really have seen a trend towards people wanting more sunshine and warmer climates, and obviously big migrations from the north to the south in the U.S., to Texas and Florida, and trying to find warmer climates. So this isn't to say that the prices of really nice real estate are going to collapse, but I would suggest that when you compare really dense city living, for example, condos and penthouses, especially in the era of global pandemics, which can make it sort of uncomfortable. You don't really want to be in a building with a whole bunch of other people, especially if you're a billionaire and you can avoid it. And so I'd suggest that the one place that really benefits, that doesn't, where the premium, the monetary premium doesn't get sucked out quite as much, is nice warm weather places. Obviously, a place like this on the island of Oahu in Hawaii has its own charm and its own utility. But I think on the margins, what you do end up seeing is that on the margins, this luxury real estate, especially the empty ones, get sold, and some of that money gets moved into Bitcoin. And this is really how Bitcoin continues to grow and continues to take market share. The real estate, global real estate market, I want to say, is around 150 trillion. And this is really where we set our sights on for Bitcoin's eventual market cap. Obviously, it's going to get as big as gold at 10 trillion. Bitcoin's already at above 1 trillion. It gets to gold. And then it starts to suck the monetary premium out of real estate, stocks, and of course, bonds, which no longer really pay any coupon or interest. Just wanted to finish this video by pointing out the news that Musk just announced that you can now buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. I love when I get in the comments that you can't buy anything with Bitcoin. It hasn't been true for a very long time, but now you can buy a Tesla with Bitcoin, and this seems to be a major company that's accepting Bitcoin. Musk further in his next tweet says Tesla is using only internal and open source software and operates Bitcoin nodes directly, so they can verify that it's real Bitcoin. And then the most interesting part of it really is that Bitcoin paid to Tesla will be retained as Bitcoin, not converted to fiat currency. This means that Tesla's holdings of Bitcoin, like MicroStrategy, will continue to grow. And this is just another great growth case for the company. That being said, I much rather own Bitcoin than Tesla. I think Bitcoin has much more upside. But this is very important, especially when influential people like Musk and huge S&P 500 companies like Tesla begin to accept Bitcoin. Anyone who says that Bitcoin is bad for the environment or bad, uses too much energy, etc., really should consider the fact that Musk is so gung-ho on Bitcoin. This should suggest to you that these environmental concerns are overrated. I have a couple videos about that as well, which you can search for. I'm going to be taking the next 2 days off to do something fun with my kids, so I'll see you on Saturday, God willing, and we'll do our next video then. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on Saturday.